Hey everybody, we're back again for another film from 1939. This time we have the final Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers pairing for the RKO studio. The story of Vernon and Irene Castle, also starring Walter Brennan. Now the movie starts in 1911 as Vernon Castle, as played by Fred Astaire, is trying to win the affections of the leading lady in the show that he is appearing in. Now when he tries to follow her to the beach in New Rochelle, he ends up meeting Irene Foote, Ginger Rogers, when they both try to save a drowning dog. Irene, an aspiring actress herself, discovers that Vernon can dance in the theater. However, she is disappointed when she comes to the show that he is in and finds out that he's only a comic actor. They start courting, and they also start rehearsing a dance routine together in the hopes of being in the show. After they get married, however, they are turned down. They are offered a job over in France, but they learn way too late and that it was only for Vernon to do his comedy routine again. They meet Maggie Sutton, Edna May Oliver, an agent who gets them a job at a restaurant. Once they dance there, they become quite famous, sparking a lot of interest for a lot of other people doing ballroom dancing their way. Now, after a while, they decide to retire, but then World War I starts up, and Vernon, who hails from England himself, joins the Royal Flying Corps, while Irene, who had tried to keep him from it, has to keep going on with the rest of her life. Now, while this movie is considered a musical by some, I would say that it barely qualifies. I know one complaint I've heard, particularly aimed at a lot of the early film musicals, is when the movies just kind of stop to have the stars do a song and or dance. It doesn't really advance the story or work for the character. This movie kind of does, but kind of really doesn't do it, being that it's a biopic about a pair of ballroom dancers from real life. It makes use of a lot of period music with maybe one new song written for the movie. I would say that doesn't quite apply here. I myself enjoy a lot of the music, but there are two moments that have stood out for me more than the others. First, I would say that I enjoy Fred's tap solo to an instrumental version of the song By the Light of the Silvery Moon. Now, he does it while he's waiting for the train leaving New Rochelle, and is the moment that Ginger's Irene discovers that Vernon can dance. I have heard this song itself many times, both before my first viewing of this movie and a number of times since, but whenever the song gets stuck in my head from whatever version I hear, inevitably, this is a version that ends up stuck in my head. And I can very, very clearly see Fred doing his dance routine do it. Now, obviously, I might get different mileage out of this song than others, but it is still a wonderful song here. The other moment that I really enjoy is a waltz medley near the end of the movie that includes Missouri Waltz, Cecile Waltz, I think it's called, and Nights of Gladness, according to IMDb. Although I don't know the music itself well enough to know in what order. All I know here is that I really enjoy the way the orchestra plays it, and it just gets me every time. It's very moving music, I think. The dancing itself is fairly simple, but wow, with that music, it's just a wonderful combination for me. Again, these are just some of the standout moments for me from this movie. As you can tell, I do really like this movie. I know it's not the most historically accurate movie with the character of Walter, who's kind of a servant to slash family member, depending upon how you want to look at it, being played by Walter Brennan, a white man, when the real Walter was black. And apparently so were the orchestras providing music for the castles. Not that you can see it in the movie. Now, as far as I know, this was done for Southern audiences in an attempt to get those audiences to come to the movie. I disagree with all that completely. I don't like it, especially since Gone with the Wind from that same year ended up being really successful. Although, to a degree, I can at least see where they were coming from, as what this was the Astaire and Rogers movies weren't doing as well by this time, which I think is a combination of the fact that this was their 9th movie together since 1933. That's what, 9 movies in 6-7 years or something like that, and so, yeah, quite a few. And at this time, Fred had also been labeled as box office poison after his solo attempt, A Damsel in Distress, had failed, and their previous movie that was made in between these was Carefree. It was also struggling. Still, I don't like the fact that they did that, but I think Walter Brennan still gives a wonderful performance, as seems to be the case in at least the films of his that I have seen. Now, other incorrect historical problems couldn't be helped by the filmmakers, as they had to deal with the strict censors of the time. Still, I would recommend this movie, especially those interested somewhat in the history of ballroom dancing. The movie is available on DVD from Warner Archive Collection and is 1 hour and 33 minutes in length. Thanks for listening, everybody, and tune in sometime next month for the next movie from 1939.